It's 8 o'clock. What time is it? Is it time to howl? Are we still doing that nonsense?
People, I don't know.
Well, we'll howl anyways.
Oh!
And we're over it.
Okay, that was good.
So, everyone, welcome to our digital comedy oasis, our cure since this everlasting world of COVID fear and panic, and we're going to bring you some bright spots, hopefully a few laughs, and of course, all the important pressing news of the day. My name is Donna Shannon. I'm your host on this train wreck. With me, as always, is James Ney, the firstborn son, Kline, who can't smell shit, and our special guest for today is Jake Hovis, a big comic, and I mean that literally.
Was he our gayest guest? Was he the gay guest or just
the biggest
gayest guest? Got it. Thanks. Welcome.
That might be me at this point, actually.
See, we've all been locked in COVID for so long. James doesn't even know his sexual gender anymore.
No, I know it. It just doesn't, exist between two things.
It's expanding. We can't go out and explore the world. We can't go to shows. We can't go to the movies. Let's try some different things in different ways that weren't thinking of before. Is that what it's all about? Like I should talk.
I guess. I mean, it's more of just I've never really understood the entire concept of gender. It's just kind of a confusing bit of thing. And to me, it's more I would rather be recognized as a person because I recognize the humanity in other people.
Oh my God, are you going to make me cry? I already told you I cried enough today in a Zoom. I don't want to cry again. James, snap out of it. Stop being poignant.
Stop being introspective. But it is Pride Month.
Oh God. Yep, it is. Go ahead, James. Go ahead. Get back on your Pride monologue.
Yeah. Hey, I'm all about supporting Pride, and love is love, and life is worth exploring. So speaking of exploring, we always like to start off with a little bit of news, and we already threw this up in the chat for everybody, but I'm going to go ahead and start sharing this. And James, why don't you tell us about this fascinating story about Ted Cruz?
Oh my God. So, Zodiac's been up to some crazy ass shit, and lately he's decided to publicly challenge Ron Perlman to a fight. But the way this started out was when he challenged him, he nominated some fucking wrestler I've never heard about because I don't follow wrestling, but nominates, Jim Jordan, and that's the guy, to fight Ron Perlman, and he's going to pay $10,000 or some nonsense. And Ron Perlman responded with, "Oh, no. That's bullshit. I'll donate $50,000 to Black Lives Matter, and I'd rather fight you, Teddy boy," kind of thing. So you have basically this feud going on between Ron Perlman and Ted Cruz, and I'm so excited. Like, really, you want to see the world come together? Let an actor beat the shit out of a politician as a pay-per-view event. You could, get rid of the national deficit in a day on just that alone.
It's the new Cameo.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we can definitely do to raise money. And there's lots of can we just stick Ron Perlman on any and all politicians that we want?
Honestly, you remember when MTV used to have cool shit on, like Celebrity Deathmatch? That's what I want. IRL Celebrity Deathmatch, celebrities versus politicians. Like that, like the guillotine, it's pretty inspirational, sure, but just watching people beat the crap out of a politician with a fucking ladder or whatever's at hand, oh yeah, That sounds delightful right now to me.
And for those of you who are a little bit too young to remember Celebrity Deathmatch, it was animation, okay? It was claymation kind of stuff. It wasn't like, sorry, it wasn't really celebrities beating the shit out of each other.
Right.
And for those of you that are not old enough to realize, Ron Perlman is the Beast. Hello, Beauty and the Beast. He was the Beast with opposite Linda Hamilton. Does anybody else remember him from that?
I just know him as Hellboy. I want him to have the left hand of doom when he goes after Ted Cruz.
Yeah,
he's a poetry reading beast who lives in the subway system in New York.
That was old. That's old. Okay, now that we've proven we're old, the one piece of news that I found really interesting, and of course it came from a very credible source because it was in my Facebook feed the other night, was there were a bunch of wild boars, I think in Italy, that found and ate over $22,000 worth of cocaine. If you know anything about boars, that's really actually quite fucking terrifying because, you know, they like eat people and stuff and they have giant tusks and they will like totally kill you. So I tried to Google to find like the real news story here, and Google's like, you can't possibly be looking for cocaine boars. You want some cocaine boards, don't you? Oh, God.
And how long have you been sober?
I've been sober for 20 years. That's both clean and sober. So it was quite surprising for me that you can find freaking literally everything on the internet. And I'm like, holy shit. What's really funny is like it's officially the sniff board for cocaine snuff party sniff drugs.
That was definitely written by a fucking cokehead.
That was written by a coke addict who had some SEO training.
Yeah. It's holy shit, you know? And I just remember back in the day when pot was still illegal and you would go to like Freaky's, which was a head shop, and a head shop is not like getting head, okay? It was like stuff to alter your mind. But, you know, they couldn't sell drugs. They just sold like, you know, rolling papers and, you know, velvet tapestries and, you know, hookahs and bongs and stuff like that. And if you got caught with like a bong in your car, it was like paraphernalia and you could get like a whole ticket for that. So to see that they're just like, oh yeah, just go click on it, order it through Amazon. You can literally get anything, like literally cocaine cutting boards for any decor style. So if you're the fancy cocaine person, the trick there is to remember to elevate your finger when you sniff through your straw.
Pinky out.
Yes, pinky out. The one that's scariest though is this one here. I mean, it's a YouTube video, so I'm terrified to click on that. But isn't that like young children?
Yeah.
Chemist set, right? It's
a chemist set? Is that what
I don't know, but I don't know why, but I kind of find this entire story about, you know, wild boars going on a rampage in another country kind of inspiring, because it's like, look, pigs can get out of control anywhere. It's not just a problem in the United States.
Oh, look, it's a real thing. It was on NPR. You can trust NPR.
Did anyone have boars, cocaine-eating wild boars for their June apocalypse calendar?
I did not. I did not even get a apocalypse advent calendar. I don't even know whose would have been right at this point, because like they're saying that the Mayan thing was supposed to be in 2012, but because of leap years and other nonsense with the Gregorian calendar, by comparison, it should be 2020 or 2021.
Oh crap! Oh crap! I knew it.
Well, it looks like the date on this is November 2019.
Right.
So not only did wild boars eat cocaine, but they did it twice.
Jake with the fact checking.
There you go. There you go. That's why we brought him on, so that we would have at least one intelligent comic on the board.
Way to go. Bravo.
And not a cocaine board either. Yeah. But Dia, you had a little bit of news you wanted to share as well, right?
I have some amazing news in the world of anosmia. That's right. I bring you all of your anosmic news. First of all, what does anosmic mean? Someone who can't smell. So I'm giving you the smell-less news. Big, big breaking news today. We have today, finally, our biggest, highest profile anosmic yet. Thank you, COVID-19. Today, we learned Prince Charles is anosmic. He lost his smell and taste when he got the coronavirus, and it has yet to return. And now he is our Prince champion, and he can add that to the bloodline of oddities for the royal family.
That and bleeding out. Nice.
Yes. Ophelia and anosmia.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
I'll tell you the bigger news in my world for anosmic news. It's kind of a twofold thing. I'm going camping next week, and being a good Jew out in the forest, I found a discount.
What?
I know. Here's the deal. The National Forest has this thing called an access pass. And an access pass is for people, and I quote, with sensory impairment that affect their daily life.
What?
Anosmia. So all I need is a doctor's letter. So I called up my gynecologist, and she refused.
Oh.
She said she wasn't at all comfortable on talking about my nose.
Well,
Ironic.
not all holes are the same, Dia.
Not all holes go in and out. She was not interested. So I called an ear, nose, and throat doctor and had to explain to the receptionist what anosmic was. And he has ordered an official anosmic smell kit. So in 2 weeks, I get to go in and be tested with his official kit. I told him, like, can't you just open a bottle of anything or take off your shoes and have me smell your feet? But no, it has to be government official. But I'm going next week, and I can't get the letter for at least 2 weeks, which means I have to pay full price, which means my anosmic status means nothing.
Oh, damn government, man.
Screw the government.
Draft again.
So
Yeah.
sad. So sad. Sorry that didn't work out for you, Dia.
Next time.
Yeah. But that kind of ties into like the theme that we're doing for our show tonight. So since we are going into summertime, we're going to talk all about summer vacations. And Dia was kind enough to put together a special video for us that I'm going to share right now. Letters home from camp. Once I get it ready, because of course, I didn't have everything backed up. Hey, you get what you pay for, all right?
Dear Mom, I am so excited for summer. It feels like I'm going off to camp. There are so many things I want to do after being cooped up inside for so long. It feels like all I did for 3 months was gain weight, watch movies, and all in all, I think I'm holding up pretty well. I did get kind of uncomfortable with my movie choices. I'd spent these past 3 months watching a lot of Nazi-themed anti-Semite shows. Not the best content to inundate one's Jewish self with during a national lockdown. On the positive side, if there's one thing that can get you to stop thinking about a global pandemic, it's the Nazis. Good thing I don't have to see that kind of hatred once I venture back out into the real world this summer. Imagine seeing swastikas and KKK hoods in the streets like they aren't classified as emblems of domestic terrorist groups. Wait, they aren't classified as terrorist groups? We should really elect a president that can do something about that, right? Our governor said they're going to open up the swimming pools soon. I can't wait to hang out with random strangers, screaming germ-infected children, and anonymous pool band-aids while trying to relax and breathe in my too-tight swimsuit that has to fit my post-COVID food-gorged body. Maybe I should just turn my bathtub into a water park. We did have quite a fun and successful time turning my deck into a mini polar bear experience during our last snowstorm. I've been thinking about taking a road trip this summer since gas is so cheap. Nothing like hitting the open road and exploring cities and finding new adventures. To be honest, I'm not super excited about sleeping in hotels. Maybe we'll just camp and take our chances with the wildlife instead of playing clean or contagious with random hotel rooms. While I did a fair amount of crafts while in quarantine, I am looking forward to making art that isn't just face mask oriented. I think people are ready for contemporary art that reflects the human spirit, humanity, and love. I hope you get to come and visit me soon. Maybe we'll try participating in some extreme sports, like thanking Trump supporters for being pro-choice by chanting "My body, my choice." If nothing else, I can get you legally stoned and watch you eat junk food. Happy that I don't have to keep telling you to unmute yourself on our Zoom calls. Don't forget to send me a care package. I don't need toilet paper because I've mastered the bidet.
Yep, it's on. It's just rock. Back and forth. Woo, girl.
Love, Dia. P.S. I'm still looking for some ways to make extra cash. Do you think you could teach me your pole dancing skills?
Yay! Was that last thing, don't tell your mom she's in the video?
Yeah, don't tell my mom.
She's not on Facebook, right?
She doesn't even know how to unmute herself. She is not on social media.
Fantastic.
But I think there's probably a lot to unpack about that video, maybe questions about what you thought you saw, maybe that you probably did.
Well, I'm kind of familiar with the stuff. I'm sure Jake has some questions.
There was a guy in a lot of that video. My question is, does he ever wear a shirt?
Well, no. But there's a reason. For New Year's, as his New Year's gift to himself, he got shingles.
Oh, yeah.
And it has been uncomfortable for many, many, many months now for him to wear a shirt. But otherwise, he is nipple proud and belly happy.
Yeah, he's flaunting that dad bod all over the place.
Yeah, right? He's just like, whoa, chicka, whoa, whoa.
Maybe you need to teach him the pole dancing.
Oh, I think he would totally do it. He would totally do it. I'll take all his tips. I'll be his manager.
Or his pimp.
Or his pimp.
Would that be a pimpette?
Pimp. He's my hoe.
Yeah, he would still be your bitch. Yeah.
He'd be my hoe.
Yeah, bitch is gender neutral.
Yeah, there you go. How very awoke that is. Now.
His main request in making this video was that I not put his enema content up.
Yeah, and we're all glad that we didn't see any enema content either.
Everything, right? It was
a couple that enemas together stays together, I guess.
Yeah, and then you bidet off.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
All
Dave,
right. Well, thank you
bidet
very
was from
much.
the beginning of
Yeah,
our
thanks
season.
for that, Dia. And that brings us to our next comic. So we're just going to do some like 5-minute sets here for you today. And James is our next one up. So take it away, James.
Well, actually, Dia, on your talk about camping just now, and your letters from camp reminded me a lot about me camping as a kid. Because, like, when I was a kid, like I had joined the whole Boy Scout thing. I didn't get molested or anything like that. It's not like I wasn't trying. I mean, I had joined the Boy Scouts, and like both of my siblings had been touched, and it just kind of had been more of a case of, look, Mom, I told you they are more popular than me.
Yeah.
And, you know, but when you were talking about looking for a good campsite, like all of this with a that whole looking for a cheap campsite, because I understand being thrifty. I grew up poor, like, but my dad would take us up Guanilla Pass, and just off of Guanilla Pass, there's this little campsite that you can pull off of the main road, and it's not really a campsite. You don't have to pay anything to go there because it's just what people have been doing there for, 70 years, is pulling off of the highway there, setting up a campsite, and there's like a little creek that runs through, right? And my dad was kind of an idiot because, I mean, he had me when he was 18. That kind of shows you how good his foresight is. And when we were up there camping, he didn't want to really pack in food or anything. Like, he'd pack in potatoes, or he'd pack in the powdered army eggs or things like that. But it's not shit that you'd really want to eat while you're out camping, because he's like, we'll fish in the woods, we're gonna be man to man, and fucking listening to, all sorts of fucking Southern rock and shit, and trying to fly the Confederate flag, and me being like, that shit's not right. But we're up there, and he finally, after 3 hours of us just sitting there, waking up after day 2 of not eating anything, and Dad finally catches a fish in this little stream, and it's just like a tiny brook trout kind of thing. And he was convinced that the best way to handle this fish, in order to prepare it for being filleted, is to knock it unconscious by thwacking it against a rock. He'd grab it by the tail and then smack its head against the rock. It'd stop moving for a little bit, and then he'd get his knife ready, he'd go to cut it, and then it would come to and start flopping around again, so he'd have to smack it on the rock.
Aww.
There was about 20 minutes of this.
Aww.
Of this fish just trying its damnedest to survive. And then Dad finally gives it enough concussions that it stops moving, and he guts it. And that's when all of its eggs came spilling out. And me and my 2 siblings were sitting there watching this happen. And Jasmine looks horrified. And they're all, she was gonna be a mama.
Aww.
And that was not the case, but Jasmine became a vegan for several years after that. But yeah, if you're looking for a good cheap campsite, Dia, you can have all sorts of wonderful, joyous, magical experiences, and the trauma that is the miracle of the cycle of life.
James, I have to tell you, in my video, there's a photo of Mark chasing cows at the campground off Guanilla Pass.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Pro camping tips from people who know it all. Yeah, we're all rough, outdoorsy types, as you can tell.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much, James. So I've got some summertime stories I'd like to share with y'all. And yeah, as some of you have already figured out, that James is my son, and I was 18 when I had him. I was like a senior in high school. graduated early and all the rest of this stuff. So, you know how like a lot of kids or just have like that real cute, soft palate, like they just can't quite pronounce words yet. Like his sister Jasmine, and James is the oldest, by the way, but Jasmine had that, right? So one time we're over at my in-laws' house and my daughter looks out the window and she gets really, really excited and she starts jumping up and down and she's going, dumb fucks outside. And my mother-in-law is looking at me just like this, and she could look kind of like a toad of a woman anyways. And so when she was being judgy, it was ultra judgy. And I look out the window and I go, dump trucks. There are dump trucks outside. So yeah, not a whole lot of the cute things. We didn't get the Paschettis or things like that. But James, with his mispronunciations, almost got me and his dad like totally killed. So how does that happen, right? So it was in the heat of summer and we're broke as shit because we're teenage parents, right? And we're driving down Colfax and we got a piece of shit car. And it doesn't have any air conditioning because of course it's a piece of shit car. And it's got the it's been so long since I've had a shitty car. So it's the 470 air conditioning. So what that means is you roll down all four windows and you drive 70 miles an hour. It's the only kind of air conditioning you get in a piece of shit car. So we're sitting there on Colfax, we're at a light, and up next to us pulls like a great big, huge biker gang. And it's like 4th of July. So they all have their American flags and just wearing their colors too. And James, from the back seat, looks out the window and goes, fags, big fags on bikes. And we're like, oh shit. Because he's trying to say flags, big flags on bikes. But of course, he's just yelling out as loud as he possibly can, to which all the bikers are like, just glaring us down. And it's like, how do you start explaining that one when you're at a stoplight, right? No, he's not saying you're fags. You got flags, nice flags. Yeah, I like your flags, good flag pride. And it didn't quite work, but I still don't understand why they didn't come out of it after us and just beat the ever living shit out of us for that. So case in point, I am not homophobic, neither is James. He just didn't know how to talk. But
well, and like honestly, at this point, it's kind of sort of my word as I'm part of the LGBTQ community.
like here's the worst thing. I've told this story now for years. And there was one time when my mom and I were going out to dinner in the theater with a lovely lesbian couple that I know. So we went to one of the best burger joints in downtown Denver, which also happens to be a gay bar. And I start telling this story. And then right in the middle of the restaurant, before I even get to any part of the story, Mom screams out, big fags on bikes. I'm like, Jesus, Mom. Okay. You did 2 cardinal sins here, okay? You're screaming big fags in a gay bar. And worse, you ruined my joke. That is definitely cause for death right there.
Well, and it's also kind of,
not very politically correct. True.
Well, not only that, it's totally different coming from like, a 5-year-old versus a 75-year-old.
True. Very true. Very true. But I will say this too. I mean, and my parents have been divorced since, I was a teenager and stuff like that. But one of the things I realized since I've been stuck at home with COVID and kind of binge watching and getting caught up on shows was, I'm a huge nerd, but it took me forever to get into Game of Thrones, which was actually all my dad's fault. So just to give you a quick snapshot of who my dad is, he's a PhD in mechanical engineering. He's done a lot of stuff for NASA, super conservative, Trump fan, Slytherin, you get the picture, right? And so we didn't have HBO for a long time, so I hadn't been watching Game of Thrones. And I'm out to lunch one day with my stepmom, and we're at Chili's, and she asks me, "Oh, do you watch Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, "No, we don't have HBO." And I'm sitting there making my fajitas and stuff. And all of a sudden she goes, "I don't know what it is about that Game of Thrones, but it sure does make your dad horny." I'm like, "Oh, what?" And I like have a great big huge dollop of sour cream on the spoon, and it's slowly falling over and plopping onto the fajita meat. And I'm just like horrified and can't speak. But she continues talking. She goes, "Yeah, I don't really get what it is. Whenever he watches that show, it just makes him as like randy as a teenager." I'm like, "Oh, yipes." So anyways, Sue ruined two things for me that day. She ruined Game of Thrones and Chili's. It took a long, long time to get over that PTSD, let me tell you. So after that, Ryan finds in the thrift store like the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones on DVD. So he keeps asking me, "Hey, do you want to watch Game of Thrones?" And I'm like, "No, I do not. I really don't want to know what's turning my dad into a randy teenager. Just don't need it." Nope. And what's worse is I can't tell Ryan why I don't want to see it. There is no reason to share these mental images along to my husband. I'm kinder than such things. But finally he wears me down, and I'm like, all right, let's watch Game of Thrones. So we're watching the first thing. And the very first sex scene you see in that is with Peter Dinklage, who plays Tyrion Lannister, you know, the imp, as he's so kindly known in the show, at the whorehouse. And I'm like watching it going, "Okay, interesting. Midget porn? Okay, that's very interesting, Dad. Yeah." And then there's like the feast scene, and there's all these pretty blonde people, and they're like flirting with each other, kinda. But it's like, okay, so the woman's the queen, and who's the other guy? The other guy's not the king. He's the like head of the guards or whatever. Okay, that's kind of weird. Oh, the big fat guy with the whore on his lap, that's the king. All right. Okay, and then the next thing I know, the blonde people are doing it. It's like, all right. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Aren't they brother and sister? What the hell is wrong with this show? What the hell is wrong with my dad? And it was like, good God. But you know what? I hung in there and I watched the whole first season because Ryan, my husband, kept telling me there was going to be dragons. So at the end of every show, I'm like, "Where's the dragons, Ryan? You promised me dragons. I want to know where the dragons are." And spoiler alert, the dragons do not show up until the very last scene and the very last show and the first episode. And they're only like this big. They're like, I'm going, I watched all of my dad's porn to get this size of dragons? What bullshit. What bullshit. But of course, I had to keep watching it. I was hooked in. So anyways, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, hopefully it didn't ruin too much of it for you. But there's some very interesting scenes in there for you.
I mean, I don't know why you're so surprised that Grandpa is into that incestuous stuff. I mean, apples don't fall that far from the tree, and you're pretty into Star Wars.
Oh.
Calling out Luke and Leia. Oh.
It needed to happen. I mean,
Somebody had to say it. Somebody had to say it. All right. Well, that brings us, of course, to our big star for tonight. So let me just give you a little bit of his bio. So Jake Hovis is huge. Seriously. He's like, he's like 6'8" and well over like 100 pounds. You know, his comedy, so like the air in his hometown of Denver, tends to be clean and fresh. So Jake is a high school teacher who brings out new bits during his class. So isn't that cool? Maybe he'll teach us something. He does actually have a solid background in improv, performing in front of paid audiences of adults. 83 times in 2018. He actually kept a spreadsheet. So on the spreadsheet, they even wrote down what they said, and they described him as funny and big. In spite of all that, Jake enjoys the little things in life, like his 5'3" wife and 2 miniature dachshunds. So welcome to the show, Jake. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's weird. That's usually my first line, that I'm 6'8" and well over 100 pounds. So there you go. I am real big. I'm so big that recently a guy told me I don't have to wear a seatbelt anymore. There's no way I can make it through the windshield.
Oh,
which is pretty strange advice coming from a police officer.
oh.
But my wife, she likes big bodies of water, lakes. She likes lakes. She's always wanting us to go swimming outside. And I tell her that, the amount of sunscreen that I need is expensive.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's a surface area issue. I got an email recently for 9 different ways you can date your wife. And I was thinking, I'm pretty sure I know how old she is. But, I was trying to do something special for her anyway. So I'm like, what if we go horseback riding, right? Nice, out in the open, summer activity. We go to one of those places where you can rent the horses. But I need to call them up first, because there's only so much weight that you can put on a horse before it becomes, a crime. So I call them up and I say, hey, I'd like to rent one of your horses, but I'm kind of a big guy. They say, oh, don't worry about it. We've had big guys before. I'm like, yeah. There are big guys and there are guys like me. I mean, to get through most doorways, I have to duck and turn sideways. If you see me on the elevator, you take the stairs. I ended up just giving my wife a ride.
Oh.
To the stable, and I waited in the car. That didn't really work out, so I'm like, okay, let's get her some food. So I went to KFC. I'm classy. I love KFC. They have my favorite measurement for food: buckets.
Yeah.
So I go there. I order 2 meals, one for me, one for my wife. They give me 1 spork.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess according to KFC, it's much more likely that I would eat 2 meals than that I would have 1 wife.
Yeah.
Didn't realize one of the 11 herbs and spices was judgment.
Oh.
Like, all right, okay. Well, so my wife and I, we don't really see eye to eye all the time. We see more like eye to like bottom crease of man boob. Right in that area. We getting it?
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
Nice.
For instance, apparently I breathe too loud. I found this out when my wife started to shake me. She thought I was both asleep and snoring. And I was just laying there watching Shark Tank. She gets mad at me for taking too long in the shower. But I keep telling her it's a surface area issue.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But of course she can see me like standing above the curtain, just staring off into nothing, thinking something stupid like, should I give my dogs middle names? I think I'm going to go with Eugene. She even gets mad at me for the way that I like dry myself off after the shower. I do I don't know what you call it, but the between the undercarriage floss, go with that. She says, you've totally ruined that towel. It is literally tainted.
No.
Oh.
So yeah, we've got a theme of summer vacation. I'm a teacher, so I love summer vacation. But earlier this semester, on my way to school, I killed a bunny.
Aw.
I know.
Ooh.
The one day I walk. It's totally ridiculous. I stopped to take a rest. I killed a bunny, broke a bench, ruined my pants. And it really like shook me up, you know, because I administer the ACT. So the only thing that I'm used to killing are dreams.
Mm.
Well, that's my time. I appreciate it.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
job.
Delightful. What is the subject that you teach in school there, Jake?
I literally do the ACT prep, but I'm also the debate coach.
Oh,
Coach, that is awesome. The debate coach of Arvada High School was one of my biggest mentors. Like, I even went to college to go study to do the English teaching thing so I could do the Lincoln Douglas debate, teach people how to do that, and the student Congress stuff. And then I realized, shit, if I go be a high school teacher, I'm going to have to grade 100 papers a year on Of Mice and Men. And if I did that, I'll kill myself the same way he did.
It's an occupational hazard. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us. That's the end of our time. So for all of our guests who joined us in the audience today, we will be posting this link tomorrow so you can see it again and watch all your favorite bits. And of course, you can feel free to share it amongst all your friends and family and enemies and whoever else you would like to. So with that being said, all of y'all be excellent to each other and
party
on, dudes.
Awesome.